The year was 2478, and Earth was a shadow of its former self. Towering skyscrapers reached for the sky, their gleaming surfaces masking the decay and despair within. The once vibrant blue sky was now a murky gray, choked with pollutants from centuries of unchecked industrial activity. The Syndicate, a coalition of powerful corporations, had seized control of every aspect of life, transforming the planet into a dystopian nightmare. Freedom was a distant memory, and hope was a dangerous illusion. In the heart of New Chicago, a sprawling metropolis and one of the Syndicate's most heavily fortified strongholds, a young engineer named Alex Riker toiled away in one of the many factories. Alex was a gifted mind, his talents wasted on menial tasks assigned by the Syndicate's overseers. He spent his days repairing outdated machinery and his nights dreaming of a world where his skills could be used for more than just maintaining the status quo. One fateful evening, as the factory lights flickered and the oppressive silence of the night shift set in, Alex's life changed forever. While cleaning out a forgotten storeroom, he stumbled upon a hidden cache of old-world technology. Dust-covered crates and rusty metal containers filled the room, relics of a bygone era when innovation and progress were celebrated, not feared. Alex's curiosity got the better of him, and he began to sift through the debris. Amidst the clutter, he found a small, unassuming data chip, its surface scratched and worn. Intrigued, he pocketed the chip and returned to his workstation. As the night dragged on, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had discovered something significant. When his shift finally ended, Alex hurried back to his modest apartment, a tiny room in one of the city's overcrowded residential blocks. He powered up his outdated computer, a relic in its own right, and carefully inserted the data chip. The screen flickered to life and lines of code began to scroll across the monitor. After hours of deciphering the ancient programming language, Alex uncovered the true nature of the data chip. It contained plans for a revolutionary piece of technology called the neural amplifier. According to the schematics, the device had the potential to enhance human cognitive abilities beyond their natural limits, allowing individuals to access and share knowledge instantaneously. Excitement surged through Alex as he realized the implications of his discovery. The neural amplifier could be the key to overthrowing the Syndicate and reclaiming humanity's freedom. But he knew he couldn't do it alone. The Syndicate's surveillance was omnipresent, and he would need allies who shared his vision and could help bring the plan to fruition. Over the following weeks, Alex carefully reached out to a select group of friends and trusted colleagues. First was Lena, a brilliant hacker with a knack for breaking Syndicate codes. Her skills were unmatched, and she had long harbored a deep-seated resentment for the Syndicate's control over every aspect of their lives. Next was Marcus, a former soldier who had been discharged for questioning his superiors. His combat skills and tactical knowledge made him a valuable asset. Together, they formed the core of a burgeoning resistance movement. Meeting in secret, they began to assemble the neural amplifier piece by piece, scavenging for parts and repurposing old technology. The work was dangerous, and the threat of discovery loomed over them constantly. Yet with each passing day, their resolve grew stronger. As they worked, they began to see the potential of the neural amplifier. It could link their minds, allowing them to share knowledge and skills instantly. With this technology, they could become a formidable force against the Syndicate. The idea of a united human front, armed with unparalleled intellect and coordination, fueled their determination. Word of their efforts began to spread, reaching the ears of those who longed for change. Scientists, engineers, and ordinary citizens started to join their cause, each bringing their unique talents and unwavering hope. The resistance grew in numbers and strength, but so did the Syndicate's awareness of their activities. One night, during a clandestine meeting in an abandoned warehouse, the resistance was ambushed by Syndicate enforcers. The air crackled with tension as the heavily armed soldiers burst through the doors, their weapons trained on the group. A fierce battle ensued, the sound of gunfire and shouts echoing through the cavernous space. Despite being outnumbered and outgunned, Alex and his comrades fought valiantly. Using their wits and the element of surprise, they managed to hold their ground long enough to escape through a hidden tunnel. As they regrouped in a safe house, the gravity of their situation became clear. The syndicate would stop at nothing to crush their rebellion, and time was running out. With their secret exposed, the resistance knew they had to act quickly. The completion of the neural amplifier was within reach, and they had to seize the opportunity to strike a decisive blow against their oppressors. As Alex looked around at the faces of his friends and allies, he saw a determination that mirrored his own. They were ready to fight for their freedom, no matter the cost. And so the spark of rebellion was ignited, setting the stage for a battle that would determine the fate of humanity. The journey ahead was fraught with danger, but Alex and his companions were driven by a single, unyielding belief. When humans get angry, no one can stop them. The discovery of the neural amplifier had lit a fire within the hearts of Alex Riker and his companions. The resistance movement, once a flicker of hope, was now growing into a powerful force. The threat of the syndicate loomed large, but the determination to overthrow their oppressors and reclaim their freedom drove them forward with relentless resolve. The core members of the resistance, Alex, Lena, and Marcus, worked tirelessly to complete the neural amplifier. Alex's small apartment had become their secret workshop, filled with an assortment of tools, parts, and half-assembled devices. They knew they were racing against time, with the syndicate's enforcers growing more vigilant by the day. As the device neared completion, Alex and his team realized they needed more allies. The neural amplifier could enhance their abilities, but they would still need the strength and support of others to challenge the syndicate's iron grip. Carefully, they began to reach out to those who had expressed dissent or shown signs of resistance in the past. Lena, with her skills in hacking and subterfuge, was instrumental in this effort. She used her talents to breach the syndicate's communication networks, sending encrypted messages to potential allies across the city. These messages spoke of hope, of a plan to overthrow the syndicate, and of the need for brave souls willing to fight for their freedom. One of the first to respond was Dr. Evelyn Carter, a brilliant scientist who had once worked for the syndicate, but had grown disillusioned with their oppressive regime. She brought with her a wealth of knowledge in bioengineering and cybernetics, skills that would prove invaluable in perfecting the neural amplifier. With her help, the device was refined and enhanced, increasing its potential and reach. As word spread, more people began to join the resistance. Among them was Javier Ortiz, a skilled mechanic with a knack for creating improvised weapons and gadgets. His ingenuity transformed the resistance's arsenal, providing them with tools and devices that could give them an edge in combat. Another was Sarah Kim, a former syndicate intelligence officer who had defected after witnessing the atrocities committed by her superiors. Her insider knowledge and strategic mind helped the resistance plan their operations with precision. The growing number of recruits necessitated a larger and more secure base of operations. Marcus led the effort to establish a hidden headquarters in the abandoned subway tunnels beneath New Chicago. The subterranean hideout provided a safe space for the resistance to train, plan, and organize without fear of immediate detection. Training sessions became a regular part of their routine. Marcus drilled the recruits in combat tactics and guerrilla warfare, while Lena and Sarah taught them the art of hacking and infiltration. Dr. Carter and Alex oversaw the technical aspects, ensuring everyone understood how to use the neural amplifier and other advanced equipment. The recruits' dedication and progress were inspiring, their shared goal creating a sense of unity and purpose. As the resistance grew stronger, so did the syndicate's awareness of their activities. The syndicate's surveillance tightened, and their enforcers conducted frequent raids and crackdowns, attempting to root out any signs of rebellion. The resistance members had to remain vigilant, constantly changing their routines and using every trick in the book to stay one step ahead. One evening, during a strategy meeting in their underground headquarters, Alex outlined a bold plan. The resistance would infiltrate the syndicate's central headquarters and broadcast the neural amplifier's signal across the city. This broadcast would awaken the suppressed potential in every human mind, breaking the syndicate's control and sparking a citywide uprising. The plan was risky and required precise coordination, but the potential reward was too great to ignore. They would need to gather detailed intelligence on the syndicate's defenses, disable their security systems, and ensure the signal reached every corner of the city. Each member of the team had a crucial role to play, and failure was not an option. Preparations began in earnest. Lena and Sarah intensified their efforts to gather intelligence, hacking into the syndicate's systems, and piecing together the layout and security protocols of their headquarters. Marcus and Javier worked on creating diversionary tactics and sabotage plans to keep the syndicate's forces occupied. Dr. Carter fine-tuned the neural amplifier, ensuring it would be ready for the moment of truth. The night of the operation approached, and tension hung heavy in the air. The resistance members knew that their actions could change the course of history, but they also understood the grave risks involved. They gathered for a final briefing, their faces a mix of determination and anxiety. "We've come a long way," Alex said, addressing the group. "Tonight, we have a chance to break the chains that have bound us for so long. The syndicate has kept us in fear, but together, we are stronger. We are fighting for our future, for a world where we can be free. Remember, when humans get angry, no one can stop them." A cheer rose from the group, their spirits bolstered by Alex's words. They moved out, their hearts pounding with anticipation and resolve. The storm was gathering, and the resistance was ready to unleash its fury upon the syndicate. As they approached the syndicate's central headquarters under the cover of darkness, the city around them seemed to hold its breath. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and the resistance was prepared to give everything they had to tip the scales towards freedom. The stage was set for a confrontation that would determine the destiny of the world. The spark of rebellion had ignited a fire, and that fire was about to engulf the oppressive regime that had held humanity in its grip for far too long. The night was dark and stormy as the resistance prepared for their most daring operation yet. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and flashes of lightning illuminated the towering silhouette of the syndicate's central headquarters. The oppressive structure loomed over New Chicago like a monolith of tyranny, its walls a fortress of steel and concrete. Alex, Lena, Marcus, and the rest of the core team gathered in their subterranean headquarters for a final briefing. The atmosphere was charged with a mix of anticipation and resolve. They had planned meticulously, knowing that any mistake could cost them their lives and doom their cause. "Remember your roles," Alex said, his voice steady despite the tension. "Marcus, you'll lead the diversionary team at the main gate. Lena and Sarah, you're with me on the infiltration team. Dr. Carter, you and Javier stay here to monitor and provide support. We've only got one shot at this, so let's make it count." The team nodded, their expressions grim but determined. They moved out in silence, splitting into their respective groups. Marcus and his team took up positions near the main gate, ready to create a distraction that would draw the syndicate's enforcers away from the true objective. Alex, Lena, and Sarah made their way to a hidden entrance that Lena had discovered during her hacking sessions. The infiltration team slipped into the building, moving swiftly and silently through the dimly lit corridors. Lena led the way, disabling security cameras and bypassing electronic locks with practiced ease. Sarah kept a lookout, her keen eyes and sharp instincts ensuring they weren't caught off guard. Alex carried the neural amplifier, its weight a constant reminder of the stakes they faced. Meanwhile, outside the main gate, Marcus and his team launched their diversion. Explosions rocked the night as they set off a series of carefully placed charges. The syndicate's enforcers scrambled to respond, their attention diverted from the true threat within their walls. Gunfire echoed through the streets as the resistance fighters engaged the enemy, drawing them further away from the central control room. Inside the building, Alex and his team moved closer to their target. The corridors were a maze, but Lena's hacking skills and Sarah's strategic guidance kept them on the right path. They encountered minimal resistance, the syndicate's forces spread thin by Marcus's diversionary tactics. As they approached the central control room, the air grew thick with anticipation. The final door stood before them, heavily guarded by electronic security systems. Lena went to work, her fingers flying over her portable terminal. The door's locks clicked open, and they slipped inside. The control room was a hive of activity, filled with monitors and control panels. Syndicate operators worked tirelessly, unaware of the impending threat. Alex, Lena, and Sarah moved quickly, neutralizing the operators with precision and efficiency. In moments, the room was secured. "Lena, start the upload," Alex ordered, setting the neural amplifier on a central console. Lena plugged the device into the mainframe, initiating the upload of the signal that would awaken the city. As the data transfer began, alarms blared throughout the building. The syndicate had realized something was wrong, and their enforcers were closing in. Sarah took up a defensive position at the door, ready to hold off any attackers. "We're almost there," Lena said, her eyes glued to the progress bar on her terminal. "Just a few more minutes." Outside, Marcus and his team were being pushed to their limits. The syndicate's enforcers were relentless, their numbers overwhelming. But the resistance fighters held their ground, buying precious time for the infiltration team. Back in the control room, the upload was nearing completion. The tension was palpable as Alex, Lena, and Sarah braced for the final moments. The door burst open, and syndicate enforcers stormed in, weapons blazing. Sarah fired back, her aim true, but the sheer number of attackers threatened to overwhelm them. "Hold them off," Alex shouted, his eyes locked on the progress bar. It was agonizingly close. The room was a cacophony of gunfire and shouts, the resistance fighting desperately to protect the neural amplifier. Lena's fingers danced over the keyboard, her mind focused on ensuring the signal was broadcast without interruption. Finally, with a blinding flash of light, the upload completed. A pulse of energy radiated from the neural amplifier, spreading throughout the city and beyond. Every human mind connected to the network felt the surge of power and clarity as the device activated. Across New Chicago, people stopped in their tracks, their minds awakening to newfound potential. The syndicate's control was shattered, their enforcers suddenly disoriented as the populace began to rise against them. In the control room, the resistance fighters felt the effects too. Their movements became more coordinated, their reactions sharper. The neural amplifier had linked their minds, creating a bond that made them an unstoppable force. "Fall back," Alex ordered, realizing their mission was complete. They fought their way out of the control room, their enhanced abilities allowing them to outmaneuver the remaining enforcers. Outside, the city was in chaos. Ordinary citizens, now empowered by the neural amplifier, joined the fight against the syndicate. The tide had turned, and the once invincible enforcers were being overwhelmed by the sheer force of the awakened populace. The resistance regrouped at their subterranean headquarters, their hearts pounding with a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. They had done it. The signal had been broadcast, and the city was rising against their oppressors. "We did it," Alex said, his voice filled with awe and determination. "This is just the beginning. The syndicate won't give up easily, but we've shown them that we're not afraid. Together, we're unstoppable." As dawn broke over New Chicago, the streets echoed with the sounds of rebellion and hope. The battle for humanity had begun, and the resistance was ready to see it through to the end. The spark of rebellion had ignited a fire that would burn until the world was free from the syndicate's tyranny. The fight was far from over, but for the first time in generations, there was a glimmer of hope. The resistance had proven that when humans get angry, no one can stop them. And with their newfound strength and unity, they were ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. The dawn of a new era broke over New Chicago, casting a pale light on the transformed city. The streets were alive with the energy of rebellion as citizens, newly empowered by the neural amplifier, rallied against the remnants of the syndicate's forces. The oppressive regime that had held humanity in its iron grip for centuries was teetering on the brink of collapse. Alex, Lena, Marcus, and the rest of the resistance regrouped in their subterranean headquarters, their hearts pounding with the exhilaration of their recent victory. The broadcast of the neural amplifier signal had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams, awakening a latent potential in every human mind and uniting them in a common cause. "Look at what we've done," Alex said, his voice filled with awe as he watched the scenes of rebellion unfold on the monitors. "We've given people the power to fight back. This is just the beginning." Marcus nodded, his face grim but determined. "The syndicate won't go down without a fight. They'll regroup and come at us with everything they've got. We need to be ready. Lena, always the strategist, quickly mapped out their next steps. We need to consolidate our gains and secure key locations throughout the city. Our priority should be to cut off the syndicate's communication and supply lines. If we can isolate them, we can weaken their defenses and prevent them from coordinating a counterattack. Dr. Evelyn Carter, her eyes shining with a mix of exhaustion and determination, added, "We should also focus on spreading the signal to other cities. The neural amplifier can reach beyond New Chicago, but we need to set up relay stations to boost the signal. If we can awaken the minds of people in other cities, we can turn this rebellion into a global movement." Javier Ortiz, always practical, chimed in, "I'll start working on the relay stations. We can use the existing infrastructure to our advantage. With some modifications, we can amplify the signal and extend its reach." As the resistance members dispersed to carry out their tasks, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and hope. They had come so far, and now they had the momentum they needed to bring about real change. But he knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. The resistance, now bolstered by thousands of newly awakened citizens, launched coordinated strikes against key syndicate installations. Communication hubs, supply depots, and armories fell into their hands, cutting off the syndicate's ability to regroup and retaliate effectively. Throughout the city, scenes of defiance and liberation played out. Ordinary people, their minds and bodies enhanced by the neural amplifier, fought with a courage and determination that had been suppressed for far too long. The syndicate's enforcers, once feared and unstoppable, found themselves outmatched and outnumbered. Despite their successes, the resistance knew they had to be vigilant. The syndicate still held significant power and resources, and they would not go down without a fight. Reports came in of a massive force gathering at the syndicate's final stronghold, a heavily fortified complex on the outskirts of the city. Alex, Lena, Marcus, and the rest of the leadership gathered to plan their next move. "This is it," Alex said, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "We need to take down their stronghold. If we can break their last line of defense, we can dismantle their organization for good." Marcus outlined the plan. "We'll need to hit them hard and fast. Our main force will launch a frontal assault to draw their attention. Meanwhile, a smaller team will infiltrate the stronghold and disable their defenses from within. Once we breach their perimeter, we can bring the full force of the resistance to bear." Lena added, "We'll need to coordinate our attack with precision. Timing is everything. If we can catch them off guard, we can minimize our losses and maximize our impact." The resistance mobilized for what they knew would be the decisive battle. As they approached the syndicate's stronghold, the air was thick with tension. The sprawling complex loomed before them, its walls bristling with defenses. Marcus led the frontal assault, his team advancing under a hail of gunfire. Explosions rocked the ground as they breached the outer perimeter, engaging the syndicate's forces in fierce combat. The resistance fighters, their abilities enhanced by the neural amplifier, fought with unparalleled coordination and skill. Meanwhile, Alex, Lena, and a select team of specialists infiltrated the complex through a hidden entrance. Moving swiftly and silently, they navigated the labyrinthine corridors, avoiding patrols and disabling security systems. Their objective was the control center, where they could disable the syndicate's automated defenses and open the way for the main force. The infiltration team encountered fierce resistance as they neared the control center. Syndicate enforcers, desperate to protect their last bastion, fought with a ferocity born of desperation. But the resistance's resolve was unyielding. They pushed forward, their minds and bodies working in perfect harmony, thanks to the neural amplifier. Finally, they breached the control center. Lena hacked into the mainframe, her fingers flying over the keyboard as she disabled the syndicate's defenses. "We're in," she said, her voice triumphant. "I've disabled their automated systems. The path is clear." Outside, the main force surged forward, breaching the inner defenses and pouring into the stronghold. The syndicate's forces, disorganized and demoralized, crumbled under the relentless assault. The resistance fighters, their abilities amplified by the neural amplifier, moved with a precision and efficiency that left the enemy reeling. In the heart of the stronghold, Alex and his team confronted the Syndicate's leadership. The once mighty rulers, now cornered and desperate, tried to negotiate for their lives, but the resistance had no intention of allowing them to escape justice. "This is for all the lives you've ruined," Alex said, his voice filled with righteous anger. "For all the people you've oppressed and enslaved. Your reign ends today." The final confrontation was swift and decisive. The Syndicate's leaders were captured, and the stronghold fell into the hands of the resistance. As the last echoes of gunfire faded, a cheer rose from the victorious fighters. The fall of the Syndicate marked the dawn of a new era. Across New Chicago, and eventually the entire world, the neural amplifier's signal continued to spread, awakening minds and uniting people in a common cause. The oppressive regime that had held humanity in its grip for so long was dismantled, piece by piece. In the aftermath, the resistance turned their attention to rebuilding. The people, now free from the Syndicate's control, came together to create a society based on principles of freedom, equality, and innovation. The neural amplifier, once a tool of rebellion, became a symbol of unity and progress. As Alex, Lena, Marcus, and their companions looked out over the liberated city, they felt a sense of pride and accomplishment. They had proven that when humans get angry, no one can stop them. Their journey had been long and arduous, but they had emerged victorious. The legacy of the neural amplifier and the heroes who had unleashed its power would be remembered for generations to come. The world had been forever changed, and humanity stood at the threshold of a new future, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. And so, humanity rose from the ashes of tyranny, united and stronger than ever, ready to build a world where freedom and creativity could thrive once more. The spark of rebellion had ignited a flame that would never be extinguished, a testament to the indomitable spirit of mankind.